High Counselor Zeth Prima requested a direct communication link with Captain Alex Kane before the human fleet departed from Kepler 442b. The insectoid alien had watched the entire rescue operation and needed to understand what he had witnessed. This conversation would be recorded and studied by every major government in the galaxy. The holographic image of Zeth Prima appeared on the bridge of the USS Defiance. His compound eyes reflected the lights of the bridge as he studied the human captain. Kane stood calmly in his uniform with the confidence of someone who had just completed an impossible mission. "Captain Kane," Zeth Prima began in his clicking voice that the universal translator converted to standard galactic speech. "I must ask a question that represents the curiosity of many species. Why did your people commit such enormous resources to save so few individuals?" Kane looked directly at the alien counselor without hesitation. Around him on the bridge, his officers continued their work preparing for departure. The question had been expected, and Kane had thought carefully about his answer. "Counselor Zeth Prima, with respect, you are asking the wrong question," Kane replied in a steady voice that carried throughout both ships. The alien's antennae twitched with confusion. "Then, Captain, what is the correct question?" Kane smiled slightly as he delivered the words that would be quoted in diplomatic meetings and military academies for decades. "The correct question, Counselor, is what would we not do to save our own people?" The implications of Kane's statement rippled through the alien observation fleet like a shockwave. On every ship, translators worked to make sure the meaning was perfectly clear in dozens of different languages. Military analysts began calculating what this statement meant for galactic politics and trade relationships. General Stack of the Hegemony was the first to understand the full meaning of the human captain's words. He immediately ordered all hegemony ships to withdraw from human space and sent an urgent message to his superiors. "Command, this is General Stack reporting from the Kepler 442 system," he transmitted to hegemony headquarters. "Recommend immediate revision of all policies regarding human civilian targets. The humans have demonstrated that they will treat any attack on their people as an act of total war." Colonel Vash, who had studied human behavior, tried to explain what they had witnessed to the hegemony leadership. "Sirs, the humans did not just rescue their colonists. They sent a message to every species in the galaxy. They are saying that they will cross in space with their entire military to protect any human anywhere." Back on the consortium monitoring ship, Counselor Vex Tertia was analyzing the economic implications of the human rescue mission. Her calculations showed that Earth had spent enough money to buy a small fleet of merchant ships just to save 300 miners. "High Counselor," she reported to Zeth Prima, "the cost of this operation exceeds the economic value of the mining colony by a factor of 50. Either the humans have resources beyond our estimates, or they value individual lives far more than any species we have studied." The Harmony Collective's crystalline ships were transmitting data back to their central mind at the speed of thought. Resonance Node 7 had been trying to find logical patterns in human behavior, and finally reached a conclusion that shocked the entire collective. Analysis complete. Human decision-making includes non-rational factors that increase military effectiveness, the crystal being reported. Willingness to expend unlimited resources for individual welfare creates psychological deterrent effect on potential enemies. Recommend classification upgrade. Humans are more dangerous than previous assessments indicated. Ambassador Trill 7 of the Neutral Worlds was preparing the most important report of his career. The human rescue mission had changed his understanding of galactic politics, and he needed to make sure his government understood what it meant. Urgent. Diplomatic analysis. He began his transmission to the Neutral Worlds Council. Human rescue operation demonstrates commitment to citizen protection that exceeds all known precedents. Recommendation: immediately establish formal diplomatic relations with Earth. Secondary recommendation: never threaten human civilian populations under any circumstances. The ancient archivists, whose probe ship had recorded every detail of the rescue mission, were already updating their vast historical databases. In millions of years of galactic observation, they had never seen a species demonstrate such commitment to individual welfare, combined with the military power to back up their promises. On Kepler 442b, Administrator Jake Morrison stood with Dr. Lisa Campbell on the observation deck of their rebuilt colony, watching the human fleet prepare to depart. The underground city behind them was now equipped with technology that made it one of the most advanced facilities in the sector. They did not just save us, Lisa, Jake said quietly as he watched the ships forming up for departure. They made us stronger than we were before the accident. They gave us defenses that could protect us from anything. Dr. Campbell nodded as she thought about the medical equipment that Dr. Helen Brooks had left behind. The colony now had a hospital that was better equipped than most planetary medical centers. Jake, I think that was the point. They did not just want to rescue us. They wanted to make sure we would never need rescuing again. The new planetary defense systems that Sam Tucker's crew had installed were already online and scanning space around Kepler 442b. The defensive grid could detect and destroy any hostile ships long before they could threaten the colony. What had been a helpless mining operation was now a fortress that could defend itself against a major attack. As the human fleet jumped to hyperspace, the alien observers began sending their reports home. The message was the same from every species. Humanity had announced its arrival as a major galactic power not through conquest or intimidation, but through an act of compassion backed by overwhelming force. The Void Watchers who lived in the empty spaces between stars sent their ghost ships away from the human rescue site with new respect for the planet-dwelling species. In their ancient memories, they recalled other races that had tried to build galactic empires through military conquest. None of them had lasted as long as species that built their power on protecting their own people. Within weeks of the rescue fleet's return to Earth, the political landscape of the galaxy began to shift. The hegemony withdrew their military patrols from the borders of human space. The consortium began offering better trade deals to human colonies. The Harmony Collective started sharing advanced technology with Earth's scientists. Several minor species that had been considering territorial disputes with human colonies quietly dropped their claims. The message from Kepler 442b was clear. Attacking human civilians would bring the full military might of Earth to retaliate, and Earth had just proven they were willing to cross the galaxy to protect 300 miners. Earth's President Johnson called Admiral Kate Sullivan to his office for a private meeting. The rescue mission had cost more money than some planets spent in a year, but the political results were beyond anything they had hoped for. Admiral Sullivan, the president said as they looked at reports from human embassies across the galaxy, your rescue fleet has accomplished something that our diplomats could never have achieved. Every alien government now understands that Earth means what it says when we promise to protect our people, Admiral. Sullivan smiled as she read intelligence reports showing alien military forces moving away from human space. Mr. President, sometimes the best way to avoid a war is to demonstrate that you are completely prepared to fight one. The aliens know now that threatening human civilians will bring consequences they cannot handle. The rescue of Kepler 442b became a turning point in galactic politics. Diplomatic historians would later mark it as the moment when humanity transitioned from being a minor newcomer to being recognized as a major power. The lesson was simple but profound. Earth protected its own with everything it had. Years later, when other species faced similar emergencies, they would remember the human rescue fleet and wonder if their own governments would do the same for them. The answer for most species was no. They would send minimal help and write off losses as acceptable costs of galactic expansion. But humans had shown a different way. When the message came asking for supplies, Earth had sent doctors, builders, and a fleet that was ready for anything. The colonists had asked for help and received proof that no human would ever stand alone in the darkness, no matter how far from home they might be. High Counselor Zeth Prima watched the human fleet leave Earth's solar system from his monitoring station, 3 light-years away. The insect-like alien had compound eyes that could track dozens of objects at once. Right now, all of his attention was focused on the 12 warships and support vessels heading toward the edge of human space. Zeth Prima had been studying humans for 5 years since they first appeared in galactic politics. The Galactic Trade Consortium had sent him to learn about this new species and decide if they were useful or dangerous. So far, the humans had been interesting but not particularly important compared to older races like the Hegemony or the Harmony Collective. His assistant counselor, Vex Tertia, floated beside him, reviewing data on her portable screen. She was also an insect-like creature, but smaller than Zeth Prima, with silver coloring instead of his dark green shell. Her job was to analyze human behavior and predict what they might do next. High Counselor Vex Tertia said in their clicking language. The human fleet contains 12 military vessels, 1 medical ship, 1 construction vessel, and 3 supply freighters. This seems like a very large force for delivering medical supplies to a small mining colony. Zeth Prima's antennae twitched as he considered the information. In his experience, most species would send 1 small ship with basic supplies to help a distant colony. The humans were sending enough firepower to conquer a small planet just to rescue some trapped miners. Perhaps the humans expect military resistance at their destination, he suggested. The Kepler 442 system is in contested space where several species have competing claims. Vex Tertia checked her records of that region. No, High Counselor. There have been no military incidents in that area for over 2 years. The system has nothing valuable except the human mining operation. No other species would want to fight for control of that planet. The 2 aliens continued watching as the human fleet jumped to hyperspace and disappeared from their sensors. Zeth Prima immediately sent messages to consortium agents throughout the galaxy telling them to monitor the fleet's progress and report anything unusual. Similar conversations were happening on ships and planets across known space. The reptilian hegemony had spy satellites watching all the major trade routes. When the human fleet appeared on their sensors, the information was sent directly to hegemony intelligence. Command General Stack was the head of hegemony intelligence and one of the most experienced military minds in the galaxy. His species had been fighting wars and building empires for thousands of years before humans even learned to make fire. When he saw the human fleet composition, he called his senior staff for an emergency meeting. Explain to me, General Stack hissed to his officers, why the humans need 12 warships to deliver medical supplies to their own mining colony. Colonel Vash, who specialized in human behavior, tried to answer. Sir, our analysis suggests the humans have unusual attachment to individual members of their species. They may be willing to spend excessive resources to save relatively few lives. General Stack's yellow eyes narrowed as he considered this explanation. The hegemony had thousands of mining colonies and industrial planets. If workers were trapped or killed, they would simply send more workers. The idea of spending massive resources to save a few hundred individuals seemed wasteful and inefficient. Colonel, this makes no strategic sense, the general said. No species can build a galactic empire if they waste resources saving every small group that gets in trouble. Either the humans are incredibly foolish or we are missing something important about their intentions. The crystalline beings of the Harmony Collective also noticed the human fleet. Their ships were made of living crystal that could think and communicate across vast distances. The Harmony valued efficiency and logical thinking above all else. To them, the human response seemed completely irrational. Resonance Node 7 was the Harmony representative who studied human behavior. Its crystal body glowed with different colors as it processed the information about the rescue fleet. The mathematical calculations showed that the cost of the mission was far greater than the economic value of the trapped miners. Query: human decision-making process appears flawed. Resonance Node 7 transmitted to the Harmony Collective's central mind. Resources expended exceed logical benefit parameters. Recommend continued observation to determine if humans possess hidden strategic objectives. The gaseous drift mines who lived in the atmosphere of gas giant planets were equally puzzled by human behavior. Their species thought in terms of collective consciousness where individual minds were just small parts of a larger thinking process. They could not understand why anyone would risk many to save few. Ambassador Trill 7 represented the neutral worlds, a group of species that tried to avoid taking sides in galactic politics. His job was to watch what the major powers did and report back to his government. The human rescue mission was definitely worth watching. Trill 7 sent an encrypted message to his superiors on the Neutral Worlds Council. Urgent. Human military deployment suggests either preparation for territorial expansion or unprecedented commitment to individual citizen welfare. Recommend positioning observation vessels along probable fleet. Routes for direct intelligence gathering. Within days, alien ships from a dozen different species were moving toward the Kepler 442 system. Most of them were small scout ships or disguised merchant vessels that could watch the human rescue mission without being detected. Everyone wanted to see what the humans were really up to. The Void Watchers who lived in the empty space between stars sent their ghost ships to observe. These mysterious beings rarely showed interest. in the affairs of planet-dwelling species, but something about the human fleet caught their attention. Even the ancient archivists who had been recording galactic history for millions of years decided to send a probe ship. In all their vast records, they had never seen a species commit such resources to save so few individuals. This was either the beginning of a new chapter in galactic politics or proof that humans were too emotional to survive as a spacefaring civilization. Back in Consortium space, High Counselor Zeth Prima received reports from agents throughout the galaxy. Every major species and several minor ones were sending ships to watch the human rescue mission. What had started as a simple mining accident was becoming the most observed event in recent galactic history. High Counselor Vex Tertia reported, "Our intelligence network confirms that at least 30 alien vessels from 15 different species are converging on the Kepler 442 system. Everyone wants to see what the humans are really doing." Zeth Prima's compound eyes glittered with interest. In his long career, he had seen many species rise and fall in galactic politics. Usually new species made their mark through conquest, trade agreements, or technological breakthroughs. Never before had he seen a species gain galaxy-wide attention simply by trying to save their own people. "Vex Tertia, prepare our fastest scout ship," he ordered. "I want to see this human rescue mission for myself. Something tells me we are about to witness something that will change how the galaxy thinks about humanity." The alien observers were all making the same mistake. They assumed the human fleet was either a military operation disguised as a rescue mission, or evidence that humans were too wasteful to be effective in galactic politics. None of them considered the possibility that humans meant exactly what they said and would do exactly what they promised. The greatest military minds and strategic thinkers in the galaxy were about to learn something new about warfare, politics, and the power of keeping your word. The human rescue mission would teach them that sometimes the most effective way to demonstrate strength is to show how far you will go to protect the weak. Captain Alex Kane brought the human rescue fleet out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler 442 system with perfect military precision. The USS Defiance led 11 other warships in a defensive formation around the medical and construction vessels. Immediately, the ship's sensors began detecting alien vessels scattered throughout the system. "Sir, we have multiple contacts," reported Lieutenant Nancy Ford from the tactical station. "I count at least 20 alien ships of various designs. They appear to be maintaining distance and observing our approach." Kane nodded calmly as he studied the sensor readings on his command screen. Ships from the Consortium, the Hegemony, the Harmony Collective, and several other species were positioned throughout the system. All of them were watching to see what the human fleet would do. "Good," Kane said to his bridge crew. "Let them watch. They are about to see what happens when humans come to help their own people." The USS Mercy immediately broke formation and headed for Kepler 442b at maximum speed. Dr. Helen Brooks was in the ship's medical bay preparing her team of 20 doctors and surgeons for the rescue operation. She had been studying the colony's medical reports during the journey and knew exactly what supplies and equipment they would need. The USS Builder followed close behind with Chief Engineer Sam Tucker and his 50-person construction crew. Sam had spent weeks planning the rescue operation and had enough materials loaded in his ship's cargo holds to rebuild the entire colony from scratch. Down on Kepler 442b, Administrator Jake Morrison was staring at his communication screen in complete disbelief. The message from the approaching fleet said they were bringing 20 doctors, 50 engineers, and enough supplies to completely reconstruct the colony. 20 doctors, Jake said to Dr. Lisa Campbell, who was standing beside him. "Lisa, they sent 20 doctors to help us. Our message only asked for medical supplies, Doctor." Campbell had tears in her eyes as she read the medical manifest being transmitted from the USS Mercy. Not only were they sending doctors, but they were bringing surgical equipment, medicine, and diagnostic machines that were better than anything found on most planets. "Jake, this is impossible," she whispered. "They are bringing enough medical equipment to build a complete hospital. Why would Earth send all this just for us?" The first shuttles from the USS Mercy began landing on the colony's damaged surface within hours of the fleet's arrival. Dr. Helen Brooks stepped out of the lead shuttle wearing a clean white medical coat and carrying a bag full of the latest medical instruments from Earth. The underground colony's medical bay was crowded with injured miners when Dr. Brooks arrived. She took one look around and immediately began organizing her team to help everyone who needed treatment. Her doctors spread throughout the underground complex, finding injured people and providing care. Dr. Campbell, Helen said as she worked on a miner with a broken leg. My team will handle all the serious injuries. I want you to rest and eat something. You have been working too hard and we need you healthy. While the medical team was saving lives, Sam Tucker's construction crew was performing miracles on the surface. They used plasma cutters and force field generators to safely clear the blocked tunnels without causing more cave-ins. The work that would have taken the colonists months to complete was finished in just 2 days. But Sam's crew did not stop with just clearing the tunnels. They began constructing new surface buildings that were stronger and better designed than the original colony structures. The new power plant used the latest fusion technology and could provide energy for a city 10 times larger than the mining colony. The alien observers watched everything with growing amazement. High Counselor Zeth Prima had positioned his ship close enough to scan the human construction work with detailed sensors. What he saw challenged everything he thought he knew about human capabilities. Vex Tertia, he said to his assistant, the human engineers are not just rescuing the trapped miners. They are completely rebuilding their entire colony, with technology that is more advanced than what we use on consortium worlds. Vex Tertia was equally impressed by what she was seeing. High Counselor, the humans brought enough construction materials to build a small city. They are installing planetary defense systems that could protect against a military attack by a major fleet. General Stack of the Hegemony was watching from his command ship and sending constant reports back to Hegemony headquarters. His military experience told him that no species would commit such resources unless they had important strategic reasons. This mining colony must be more valuable than our intelligence reports indicated, he told his staff. No government spends this much money and sends this many warships just to rescue ordinary miners. But Colonel Vash, who had studied human behavior, was beginning to understand what they were really witnessing. Sir, I do not think this is about the colony's strategic value. I think the humans really are spending all these resources just to save 300 of their people. General Stack's yellow eyes widened as he considered this possibility. Colonel, if that is true, then humans are either the most wasteful species in the galaxy or the most dangerous. A species that will cross the galaxy to save 300 individuals might do anything to protect their homeworld. The rescue operation continued for 6 days. Dr. Helen Brooks and her medical team worked around the clock treating injured miners and setting up a complete medical facility in the underground colony. Every person who had been hurt in the cave-ins received the best medical care available anywhere in the galaxy. Sam Tucker's construction crew rebuilt everything that had been damaged and added improvements that the colonists had never imagined. They installed new air recycling systems, water purification plants, and food production facilities that could support the colony indefinitely. On the 4th day, Jake Morrison walked through the reconstructed surface installations with Sam Tucker. The new buildings were beautiful and strong, with walls that could withstand severe weather or even weapon attacks. The communication center had been upgraded with equipment that could send messages to Earth instantly. Sam, this is incredible, Jake said as they toured the new power plant. You have given us technology that most planets do not have. Why did Earth do all this just for our small mining colony? Sam smiled as he watched his crew putting finishing touches on the defensive systems. Jake, where I come from, we have a saying. When humans are in trouble, other humans come running. It does not matter how far away you are or how few people need help. If you are human and you need help, then help is coming. The alien observers were beginning to understand that they were witnessing something unprecedented in galactic history. Ambassador Trill 7 of the Neutral World sent an urgent message to his government that would be studied by political analysts for years to come. The human rescue operation has exceeded all rational expectations, he reported. They have not simply saved their trapped colonists. They have transformed a minor mining facility into one of the most advanced and well-defended installations in this region of space. By the end of the 6th day, all 300 colonists were safe, and the colony was operating better than it ever had before. The underground city had been expanded and improved with new living quarters, recreational facilities, and workshops. The surface installations included a small spaceport that could handle large cargo ships. Dr. Campbell stood in the new medical center watching Dr. Brooks train local staff on the advanced equipment they were leaving behind. Helen, I do not know how to thank you and your people for what you have done. Dr. Brooks packed her instruments and prepared to return to the USS Mercy. Lisa, you do not need to thank us. Taking care of each other is what humans do. Someday when someone else needs help, you will be the one who goes running to help them. As the rescue fleet prepared to leave, Kepler 442b, the alien observers, finally understood what they had witnessed. The humans had not just completed a rescue mission. They had made a statement about their values that would echo throughout the galaxy for generations to come. Captain Kane stood on the bridge of the USS Defiance watching the last shuttles return from the planet's surface. In 6 days, his fleet had saved 300 lives and built a colony that would be remembered as an example of human engineering and determination. The rescue fleet formed up and prepared to jump back to Earth. Behind them, they left a mining colony that was now stronger and better equipped than most planetary capitals. More importantly, they left a message that every species in the galaxy had received loud and clear. Admiral Kate Sullivan was drinking her morning coffee at Terra Command when the emergency message arrived from Kepler 442b. The communication officer brought her the printed message, and she read it twice before believing what it said. 300 people trapped underground on a mining world that most people had never heard of. Kate had been in charge of Terra Command for 5 years. Her job was to protect Earth and all human colonies in space. She had handled many emergencies before, but something about this message made her feel different. Maybe it was the simple words, "time running out," that made her heart beat faster. General Paul Carter walked into her office carrying his own copy of the message. Paul was her best friend and the person she trusted most. He had been a soldier for 30 years and had seen every kind of trouble that could happen to humans in space. "What do you think, Kate?" Paul asked, as he sat down in the chair across from her desk. "We could send the USS Liberty with supplies. It would take 3 weeks to get there, but it might be fast enough." Kate stood up and walked to the big window that showed Earth below. The blue and white planet looked peaceful from space, but she knew that thousands of people were working every day to protect human colonies across the galaxy. Earth had become strong and powerful, but strength meant nothing if you did not use it to help your own people. "No, Paul," she said without turning around. "We do not do small things anymore. If we are going to save these people, we are going to do it right." Kate had been thinking about humanity's place in the galaxy for a long time. Other alien races looked at humans as newcomers who did not belong among the stars. Some aliens thought humans were weak because they cared about individual lives instead of just thinking about the group. Kate wanted to show them they were wrong. She called a meeting with all the department heads at Terra Command. Within 2 hours, the biggest conference room was full of admirals, generals, and civilian leaders. Kate stood at the front of the room and told them about Kepler 442b. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began, 300 humans are trapped on a mining world and they need our help. I want to send them more help than they asked for. I want to send them more help than they can imagine." The room was quiet as Kate explained her plan. She wanted to send not just one ship, but an entire fleet. The medical ship USS Mercy would carry 20 of Earth's best doctors and surgeons. The construction ship USS Builder would have 50 engineers with enough materials to rebuild the entire colony. Dr. Helen Brooks was the best trauma doctor on Earth. She had worked in war zones and disaster areas for 15 years. When Kate asked her to lead the medical team, she said yes immediately. Helen understood that saving lives was more important than staying comfortable on Earth. "Admiral, I will take my best people," Helen told Kate. "We will bring everything we need to turn that mining colony into the best medical facility in that part of the galaxy." Chief Engineer Sam Tucker was in charge of the construction team. Sam had built space stations, planetary bases, and starship yards all across human space. When he heard about the trapped miners, he started making plans right away. "We will not just dig them out," Sam told his team. "We will build them a better colony than they ever had. They will have the strongest buildings, the best power systems, and defenses that can protect them from anything." But Kate's biggest surprise was the escort fleet. 12 warships led by the flagship USS Defiance would go with the rescue ships. Captain Alex Kane would command the escort fleet and make sure everyone understood that Earth was serious about protecting its people. Paul Carter was worried about sending so many warships. "Kate, this looks like we are starting a war instead of running a rescue mission. What will the aliens think when they see 12 human warships show up in their space?" Kate smiled for the first time since reading the message from Kepler 442b. "Paul, that is exactly what I want them to think. I want every alien race in the galaxy to see how Earth responds when humans are in trouble. When our people call for help, the entire might of Earth comes to save them. The news about the rescue fleet spread quickly, through Terra Command and then to the rest of Earth. People were excited to see their government doing everything possible to save the trapped miners. Some news reports called it the biggest humanitarian mission in human history. Other government officials were not sure about Kate's plan. The Secretary of Colonial Affairs thought it was too expensive to send so many ships and people to save 300 miners. The Secretary of Alien Relations worried that other races would see the fleet as a threat. Kate met with Earth's president to explain her decision. President Johnson had been a colony administrator before becoming president, so he understood what the people on Kepler 442b were going through. Admiral Sullivan, the president said after hearing her plan, "This mission will cost Earth billions of credits and tie up our best ships and people for months. Are you sure it is worth it for one small mining colony?" Kate looked directly at the president and gave him an answer that would be remembered in history books. "Mr. President, if we cannot save 300 humans on a distant mining world, then we do not deserve to call ourselves a galactic power. The aliens are watching us and we need to show them what humanity really stands for." The president approved the mission that same day. Within 72 hours, the largest rescue fleet in human history was ready to launch. The USS Mercy was loaded with medical supplies that could stock a city hospital. The USS Builder carried enough construction materials to build a small city. The 12 escort ships were armed and ready for anything. Captain Alex Kane briefed his captains about their mission. They were not expecting a fight, but they wanted everyone in the galaxy to know that Earth's rescue missions had the full protection of the human military. As the fleet prepared to leave, Earth's orbit Admiral Sullivan stood in the command center watching the final preparations. General Carter joined her at the observation window as the ships formed up for departure. "Kate," Paul said quietly, "I hope you know what you are doing. This could change how every alien race sees humanity." Admiral Sullivan watched the USS Defiance take its position at the front of the fleet. "Paul, that is exactly what I am hoping for. Starting today, every alien in the galaxy will know that Earth protects its own, and we do it with everything we have." The rescue fleet jumped to hyperspace and began the journey to Kepler 442b. Behind them, Earth continued its normal daily life, but everyone knew that something important had just happened. Humanity had announced to the galaxy that no human would ever be abandoned, no matter how far from home they might be. Jake Morrison stood in the dark command center and watched the red lights flash on every screen. The mining colony on Kepler 442b was in trouble, and everyone knew it. The ground had shaken for 3 days straight, and now most of the tunnels were blocked with rocks and metal. 300 people were trapped underground with no way out. The colony had been working fine for 2 years. The miners dug deep into the planet to find rare metals that Earth needed for building spaceships. Jake had been proud of his people and their work. They had found more metal than anyone expected and sent regular shipments back to Earth. Everything was going well until the ground started moving. It began small at first. A little shake here and there that made the coffee cups rattle on the tables. The geology team said it was normal for a mining planet. Jake believed them because he trusted his people. But the shaking got worse each day, and the computers started showing warnings. Dr. Lisa Campbell ran into the command center with dirt on her white coat. Her face looked tired and worried. She had been working in the medical bay for 18 hours without stopping. More injured people came to her every hour, and she was running out of medicine and supplies. "Jake, we have a big problem," she said while catching her breath. 42 people are hurt bad, and I cannot help them all. The medical supplies are almost gone, and some people need surgery that I cannot do here. We need help from Earth right now." Jake looked at the damage reports on his screen. The main tunnel was completely blocked and would take months to clear with their small machines. The power plant was damaged and running on backup systems that would not last long. The food storage area was partly crushed, and they had maybe 2 weeks of food left if everyone ate very little. Ryan Phillips worked at the communication station trying to contact other colonies or trading ships. His fingers moved fast over the controls, but the results were always the same. No one was close enough to help them. The nearest human settlement was 3 months away by regular transport ship. "Sir, I cannot reach anyone who can help us," Ryan said without looking up from his work. "The emergency beacon is working, but no ships are in this area." Our only chance is to send a message to Earth and hope they can send help. Jake knew that sending a message to Earth would take time. The signal had to travel 23 light years through space to reach home. Even at the speed of light, it would take weeks for the message to get there. Then Earth would need time to prepare a response and send ships. By then, it might be too late for everyone trapped in the colony. The mining operation had seemed like such a good idea when they started. Earth needed the metals, and Kepler 442b had plenty of them just waiting to be dug up. The planet was far from Earth, but that was normal for mining colonies. Most miners expected to spend years away from home working on distant worlds. Jake remembered when he first saw Kepler 442b from the colony ship. It looked like a brown and gray ball with no oceans or green plants. The air was thin but breathable, and the gravity was close to Earth normal. It was not a pretty planet, but it had what Earth needed, and that made it valuable. The colonists had built their homes and work areas underground to protect themselves from the strong winds and cold temperatures on the surface. The underground city had everything they needed, including shops, restaurants, and even a small park with real trees from Earth. It was a good place to live and work until the ground started shaking. Now the underground city was a trap. Most of the tunnels to the surface were blocked and the elevators were not working. The air recycling system was damaged and working at half power. Soon the air would become bad and people would get sick. The water pumps were still running, but no one knew for how long. Jake made the hard decision. They would send the emergency message to Earth and hope for the best. He told Ryan to prepare the strongest signal they could send. The message had to be clear and simple so Earth would understand how bad things were. Colony Kepler 442b requesting immediate emergency supplies. Ryan typed as Jake told him what to say. 300 souls trapped underground. Critical need for food, medical supplies, construction equipment. Time running out. The message was short, but it said everything Earth needed to know. Jake hoped someone would read it and care enough to help. Earth had many colonies scattered across the galaxy, and maybe Kepler was too small and far away to matter. Ryan pushed the button and the message shot out into space toward Earth. The signal would travel for weeks through the empty darkness between stars. Jake wondered if anyone on Earth would even receive it, or if it would just disappear into the void like so many other messages. Dr. Campbell came back to the command center with more bad news. 2 more miners were hurt when another tunnel collapsed. The medical bay was full and she had to put injured people in the hallway. Some people were asking if they were all going to die on this distant planet. Jake looked around at his people working at their stations. They were all scared but still doing their jobs. The miners who were not trapped were helping to dig out the blocked tunnels. The engineers were fixing what they could with limited parts. Everyone was working together to survive, but Jake knew it might not be enough. The colony had asked Earth for supplies many times before. Usually Earth sent what they needed on the regular transport ships that came every 6 months. But this was different. This was life or death and they needed help right now. Jake could only hope that Earth would understand and send help. Fast. Outside the underground colony, the wind blew across the empty surface of Kepler 442b. The message to Earth was traveling through space at the speed of light. Somewhere far away, people on Earth were living their normal lives, not knowing that 300 humans were trapped underground on a distant mining world, waiting for someone to save them.